1966 Nigerian counter-coup. The 1966 Nigerian counter-coup, also known as the July Remarch, was the second of many military coups in Nigeria. It was masterminded by Lieutenant Colonel Murtala Mohammed and many other northern military officers. The coup began as a mutiny at roughly midnight of 28 July 1966 and was a reaction to the killing of northern politicians and officers by some soldiers on 15 January 1966. The coup resulted in the murder of Nigeria's first military head of state, General Johnson Agui-Ironsi, and Lieutenant Colonel Adekunle Fajuyi, who was hosting a visiting Agui-Ironsi in Ibadan by disgruntled Northern Non-Commissioned Officers (NCOs). Upon the termination of Ironsi's government, Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon was appointed head of state by the coup conspirators. Reasons for the counter-coup. According to historian Mark Ceylon, northern soldiers had a list of grievances following the aborted 15 January 1966 coup, which led to the planning of the counter-coup. A list of their grievances were the murder of northern civilian leaders and military officers in the aborted 15 January 1966 coup d'etat. The 15 January 1966 coup conspirators, mostly majors, had not been tried for treason and were being paid while in detention. The passage of the Unification Decree, rumors of an Igbo coup to eliminate northern soldiers, the promotion of several Igbo majors to lieutenant colonel, rumors of General Agui-Ironsi's ethnic favoritism towards Igbos, plans to swap the 1st and 4th battalions, and plans to retreat the military governors of different regions. 1966 Anti-Igbo Program. A series of massacres were committed against Igbo people and other people of southern Nigeria origin living in northern Nigeria starting in May 1966 and reaching a peak after 29 September 1966. Between 8,000 and 30,000 Igbos and Easterners have been estimated to have been murdered. A further 1 million Igbos fled the northern region into east. In response to the killings, some northerners were massacred in Port Harcourt and other eastern cities. These events led to the secession of the eastern Nigerian region and the declaration of the Republic of Biafra, which ultimately led to the Nigerian Biafran War. The massacres were led by the Nigerian army and replicated in various northern cities. Although Colonel Gowon was issuing guarantees of safety of southern Nigerians living in the north, the intention of a large portion of the Nigerian army at the time was genocidal, as was the common resist rhetoric among Hausa tribes, with the exception of a few northern Nigerians, mainly army officers, who were not convinced that Igbo were innately evil. The southern and eastern Nigerians were generally regarded at the time in the north of Nigeria as described by Charles Cale. Northern Nigerians were, however, also targeted in the Igbo-dominated eastern Nigeria. Thousands of Hausas, Tiv, and other northern tribes were massacred by Igbo mobs, forcing a mass exodus of northerners from the eastern region. One factor that led to the hostility towards southern Nigerians in general and Igbo in particular was the attempt by Agui-Ironsi regime to abolish regionalization in favor of a unitary system of government, which was regarded as a plot to establish Igbo domination in the federation. The British press was unanimous in its conviction at the time that these 29 May killings were organized and not spontaneous. The Ironsi regime was also perceived to have been favoring southern Nigerians in the appointment to key positions in government, thus heightening the inter-ethnic rivalries. The failure of the Ironsi regime to execute the army mutinies responsible for the January 1966 coup further exacerbated the situation. The unprofessional attitude of some elements of the international press are also known to have added to the existing tension. J.D.F. Jones, the diplomatic correspondent of the Financial Times, had on January 1966 already predicted that the Northerners might already have begun to take revenge for the death of their leader, the Sardauna of Sokoto, on the large number of Igbo who live in the north, which at the time they were not doing. This has been criticized as an irresponsible and, for a journalist, unprofessional, self-fulfilling prophecy, which will lead the northern elite to assume that the Financial Times was in possession of information that they were not aware of, and that the world expected the North to react in this way. Later tactics were engineered by northern allies to provoke violence, such as fabricated news stories submitted to Radio Cotonou and relayed by the Hausa service of the BBC, detailing exaggerated attacks against northerners in the east, which led to the furious killings of Eastern Nigerians on 29 September 1966. This spree of killings carried on into early October and was carried out by civilians, sometimes aided by army troops, and swept the entire north. It has been described as the most painful and provocative incident leading to the Nigerian Biafran War. Source: Wikipedia. Follow for more.